Hey guys, how's it going? I'm going to go over this entire assessment review for Unit 1, Topic 1. Just as a disclaimer, my handwriting might be extra messy today because I was air drumming a little too hard on my way home and my hands are kind of tired. Don't hate. Anyways, alright, so let's get right to it. The first set of questions, numbers 1 and 2, are literal equations, right? And just throwing it out there, this is much harder than your test is going to be in the sense of this specific problem, the literal equations. So if you're able to do this, you're going to be just fine on the test with literal equations. So number 1, they want us to solve for Fahrenheit, right? We've got this formula that they're telling us they use to convert temperatures, and number 1 wants us to solve for Fahrenheit. Fahrenheit right here, they tell us that Fahrenheit is our variable f, right? So they want us to solve for Fahrenheit. I'm going to solve for f. Here it is. I found it. So that's f, right? You have to think, what is near this f on the same side of the equation that you can get rid of very easily? I know some people say, oh, there's a 5 right here, and I know there's multiplication, so let me divide by 5. You're trapping this guy in there, the 9c. So the easiest thing that you can do is get rid of this minus 9c. And how would you get rid of a minus 9c? You do the opposite, which would be adding 9c. Okay? You're also going to do it under here, because what you do to one side of an equation, you have to do to the other, right? So these two cancel out. Goodbye. What you have left on this side of the equation is 5f. Let's bring down that equal sign. Over here, you can't combine this 160 and the 9c because they're two completely different things, right? So I'm just going to rewrite it as it is. 160 plus 9c. Alright? Now, there's still something next to my f. Okay? Which is a 5. And we've been saying it for the past, basically, almost 3 weeks now. There's a multiplication when something's right next to another thing in math. So, to get rid of this 5, you would do the opposite of multiplication, which is division. You multiply this, you divide this whole side by 5. These two 5s cancel out. And then you end up with f equals what you have on the other side. 160 plus 9c divided by 5. That's your answer. I'm just going to throw them there. If you're an overachiever, which is cool, you can simplify this down a little further. You could do 160 divided by 5. This 5 is dividing the whole side. So 160 divided by 5, that should give you 32. And I'm not going to worry about 9 divided by 5 because that's going to give you a decimal, right? So if you came up with this as your answer, that's acceptable too. But I don't know why, I just have a feeling most of you guys are going to come up with that, okay? Alright, that's number 1. Number 2, they want us to solve for Celsius this time. And here in our key, they tell us Celsius is the variable C. So, what do we get rid of? We know we don't want to divide by this negative 9, or this minus 9. It's going to make life difficult, and it's going to trap that 5f. So, let's get rid of 5f. In order to get rid of a 5f, you would subtract. If my Promethean worked. Subtract by 5f on both sides. These two cancel out, right? On the left-hand side, what you have left is this negative 9c, or minus 9c, whatever, equals, you can't combine these just like the other side, because 160 and 5f are two different things. 160 minus 5f. Isn't my handwriting great? Okay. Now, what is the last thing that's near your C? It is this negative 9, right? So to get rid of that, you would think what's there, which is multiplication. Alright, how the heck do I get rid of it? You would divide by -9. These two -9s cross out. And what you're left with is C equals 160. Oh my gosh, this looks great. Minus 5F divided by -9. Okay? Hopefully, God, it's just getting worse. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay? So, that is it for the literal equations, and I will now be moving on to the next question, which is the word problem. This one is kind of loaded, guys, so you might want to take a stretch break because it is about to get real. Alright, let's do it. So, number 3, I'm going to read it just out loud to you, just in case if you are feeling lazy. Number 3 says, Joey has a container with 1,000 jelly beans inside. He accidentally left the container at his friend's house. His friends Seth, Deb, and Caitlin decided to help themselves to the jelly beans, thieves, and finished the entire container. Seth ate 20 less than 5 times the amount that Deb ate. Caitlin ate 4 times the amount that Deb ate. How many jelly beans did each person eat? This is a loaded question, guys. We actually, man, this is going to be, it's going to take a few steps, but it's not that difficult, okay? So let's find out. They talked about Seth first. Seth ate 20 less than 5 times the amount that Deb ate, right? Looks like we don't know how much Deb ate. They keep talking about Deb. Who the heck is Deb? Anyways, so let's use the variable D to represent Deb. As always, you can use whatever variable you want. I just like using D because it makes sense to me since her name starts with a D. So Seth ate 20 less than 5 times what Deb ate. So 5 times what Deb ate, right? And it said 20 less than. So it'd be minus 20. Okay? Now we have to figure out Caitlin's ordeal. Caitlin ate 4 times the amount that Deb ate. So if she ate 4 times, you would literally just write 4 times what Deb ate. Okay? Now we have to put it all together and set up our equation. So it would just literally be these 3 people added together. So you've got Seth and Deb, which is just D, and Caitlin. They somehow ate all of Joey's 1,000 jelly beans. So Seth plus Deb plus Caitlin equals 1,000. Okay? Now, you have to think about what can you combine on this side. I know we keep talking about in class, how many D's are there? And don't tell me 3, because there are not 3 D's, right? We've got 5 D's right here, plus another D, plus 4 D's. So 5D plus 1D, that gives you 6 D's, plus another 4 D's. Wait, did I say that right? Sorry. 5 D's plus 1D gives you 6 D's, plus 4 D's gives you 10 D's. So I'm going to combine all these D's together to have 10D. And we didn't do anything with this minus 20, so I'm going to write that. Okay? Equals 1,000. And then now we're just trying to solve for how much Deb ate, right? Which is D. You want to get rid of this minus 20, so you do plus 20. Cancel that out. What you have left on this side is 10D equals 1,000 plus 20 will give you 1,020. Alright, last step to find out what D is, you have to get rid of this 10. There's multiplication, so you would divide by 10 on both sides. That 10 crosses out, and your answer will be D equals 102. Congratulations, we're done. I'm just kidding. We're not done. Please read the question carefully. It says, how many jelly beans did each person eat? We know how much Deb ate. I'm going to write that right here. Deb had 102. We already know that. But now we need to figure out how much Seth and Caitlin had. Let me erase this. We're not done. Alright. So, I'm going to erase all this just so I have a little room to work. But I'm going to leave the fact that we've already figured out that Deb had 102. Seth had 5 times what Deb had, minus 20. So at this point, to figure out how much Seth had, you would just plug in what Deb had into his equation. And that's that whole substitution evaluating thing that we did towards the beginning of the year. So it'd be 5 times 102 minus 20. What would you do first? If you follow PEMDAS, parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, you would know that you have to multiply first. So 5 times 102, these two things gives you 510. Okay? Let's bring this minus 20 down since we haven't done anything. And then when you do 510 minus 20, your answer is going to be 490. So Seth, I'm going to write it here. Seth had 490 jelly beans, okay? Hopefully you're able to follow that. And then we have one more person to figure out, which is Caitlin. Caitlin had 4 times what Deb had. We know Deb had 102, so let's do 4 times 102. And when you multiply those two things on your calculator, you should get 408. And I'm going to write her name here, Caitlin. Okay? So once again, I know there were a lot of steps for this one, but I really hope that by going through it, you were able to understand how to set up the equation for this word problem, as well as solve it. Okay? Oh man, I need a drink of water. But I'm going to keep going, because you guys are amazing. Alright, this one says use your properties of equalities, which you know is the addition property, subtraction, multiplication, division, distributive, and create a 2-step or multi-step equation with the given conditions. This one says something that has infinitely many solutions. That word infinitely many solutions, guys, I know that we've talked about it by saying, I forgot an L, always true. So even if your teacher or myself, even if we haven't said infinitely many solutions, just think about what infinitely means. Infinitely means always, right? So what is always true? I know that, and I know that you know that. X always equals X, right? It is what it is. It's right there, plain and simple. It's the same thing on both sides. X equals X. Now we have to turn this into a 2-step equation. So literally you could do anything you want to both sides as long as you're doing the same thing to both sides, and you're going to get a 2-step equation. But for me, I am going to multiply by 2 to both sides just because I felt like it. So now I've got 2x equals 2x. That's a 1-step equation, right? Because I've done one thing to it. Now let's say I want to add each side by 5. And that's it. That's a 2-step equation, guys. That's always true. 5 plus 2x will always equal 2x plus 5. You have the exact same thing on both sides. It's just written backwards. If this messes with your head and you want to rewrite it as 2x plus 5 equals 2x plus 5, that's cool. That is completely fine. Okay? But I really urge you to please don't just write down this one that I wrote down. Try to come up with your own for this one, because that is what's going to help you on this test. Okay. Now, they said, what about when x is 0? To create a two-step, I really don't like this one. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to change this, guys. Sorry. I really don't like that. So let's say x equals 2. Okay? We have to create a two-step equation that works when x equals 2. It's the exact same thing that we did over here. It's just going to be a sometimes true solution. And I know that you guys know that these are always going to be sometimes. That's sometimes true. Anyways, so same thing. You have to do two operations to this. So let's say I want to multiply both sides by 3. So now I've got 3 times x, which is going to give me 3x, equals 2 times 3. That gives you 6. That's a one-step equation because I've only done one thing to it, right? Now let me make it a two-step equation by doing one more thing. I think the easiest thing is to just add by something. So I'm going to add by 4 to both sides. I can't combine this 4 and the 3x because they're two completely different things. But I can combine the 6 and 4. I'm going to simplify that. So 6 plus 4 equals 10. And that right there is a two-step equation that if you were to solve this would give you what you started off with, which is x equals 2. Okay? Hopefully that makes some sense. Moving on. Alright, so always, sometimes, never. Most of you guys have been destroying this. You've been doing very well on this, but I figured I'd just go through these last 4 questions because I'm already making this video and I like talking. Okay, so here automatically you know you have to do the distributive property when you see this number outside of the parentheses. Now, this is a little weird. We have 2 sets of numbers that we have to distribute out. Okay, so 8, remember this is multiplication, guys. The little angry birds, whee! Right? So 8 times negative 2x will give you negative 16x. I'm going to bring down this minus. Okay? 8 times 1 gives you 8. Alright, so I'm done with this. I've distributed it out. Now I've got an equal sign. And on this side, negative 4 times 4x, that's going to give you negative 16x. Alright? And then you've got this minus sign. I'll bring that down. Negative 4 times 2. So that would be negative 8. At this point, if you don't know, if you subtract a negative, really you could change both of those to adding by something, right? But even if you didn't do that, both of these sides are different. You've got a negative 16x on both sides, right? But here you've got a minus 8, and on this side you've got a minus negative 8. Both sides are not equal, they're not the same thing. So, oh man, sorry, this thing's bothering me. Okay, so sorry, you've got 2 different things, a minus 8 and really a plus 8. So this is never true. Why? Because both sides are not equal, okay? But you know what? I'm going to go through and solve it for you just in case if you have issues seeing it. I'm going to keep it the minus negative 8. Okay. So, to get rid of the negative 16x on both sides, you're going to have to add by 16x, right? That cancels out. That cancels out. On this side, you have a negative 8 left. And here, you've got a minus negative 8, which is really the same thing as positive 8. So if that helps you to see it, you could see that and see that it's never true. Because negative 8 is not equal to 8. They kind of look alike, but this negative makes it completely different, right? Alright, moving on to the second one. 9 plus 7x equals 10x. When you solve this, you want to think, how can you get all of your x's, or the rectangles, on one side, and your numbers on the other side, as fast as possible, okay? So, if you move this 9 over here, you're still going to have an x over here, and then here you've got an x and a number. If you move this 10x over here, you're going to have nothing left over there. So the easiest thing to do is move this 7x with the other x's, okay? So to get rid of a plus 7x, you do minus 7x on both sides. 7x minus 7x cancels out. On this side, you have 9 left. And then you've got 10x minus 7x, which gives you 3x. Alright? To get this x by itself, we've got to get rid of this 3 now. And there's multiplication, which we know hiding there. Sneaky devil. So to get rid of it, that 3 you would have to divide. And then your answer is 3 equals x, or x equals 3. And you know that whenever it's x equals anything, it's going to be sometimes. Because x could be 3, right? But it could also be anything we want it to be. That looks really weird. I feel like I spelled that wrong. But I didn't. Because I'm a beast. Anyways, last 2 problems. I am thirsty. Okay. So, 4, you have to distribute this, as well as this. And I'm going to kind of fly through this one. 4 times x equals 4x. You bring down this plus. Your second arrow tells you to do 4 times 3, which is 12, equals 2 times 2x is 4x. Bring down that plus. The second arrow, 2 times 6 is 12. You don't need to do anything further. You can tell that it is always. Why, you may be asking yourself? You've got a 4x on both sides. And you've also got a plus 12 on both sides. I'll keep going because I know some people like that. So, let's get rid of these x's. To get rid of a 4x, you would do minus 4x. And these would cancel out. 4x minus 4x means nothing. Left on this side, you've got 12. And on this side, you have 12. Now, let me be clear, guys. If you leave it in this step, see if you can push yourself and go down to this step, okay? Alright, last one. 7 plus 8x equals 8x. You could automatically tell that this is never. Both sides aren't equal. It looks like both sides have an 8x, right? But here you've got an extra 7 added to it. So that's going to be never true. Well, let's make some sense of it mathematically, right? How can you get rid of this 8x? You want to move this to the other side so you only have x's here and numbers over here. Oops. So to get rid of a plus 8x, you would do minus 8x. This cancels out. Over here, you've got a 7 equals, oh, this also cancels out. So what's left when you have 8x minus 8x? It is 0. Alright, so I hope you guys were able to understand all of that. Please feel free to email me if you have any further questions or if you have a request for me to make another video. I have a feeling that some of you guys are a little iffy with making these word problem equations from word problems, so later on tonight I might make another video about the word problems that we did during class, or maybe give you some other examples. But like we said, if you're able to do this sheet, guys, you're going to do just great on Friday when you take your assessment. Okay? Alright, well, have a good night. I'm sure you're done with hearing my voice. Take care. Peace.